Welcome. Today we will be looking at the Northeast Academy for Aerospace and Advanced Technologies curriculum model. We will be evaluating the use of this model and looking at ways to make improvement for student outcomes. Currently, the Northeast Academy for Aerospace Advanced Technologies, or NEAT, uses the Wheeler curriculum model. Wheeler's curriculum model is a secular model, meaning it is continuous and you can start from any point within the model. It is also prescriptive, which means that there is a clear understanding of what ought to happen or a plan. Wheeler's model also has 5 interdependent stages or processes. Wheeler's model's 5 processes begins with setting a goal or an objective. Next, within the model, you look at the selection of the learning experience, then moving to a selection of content. From there, you organize and integrate the learning experience, and then finally you evaluate the process. We're going to take a minute to look at what those interdependent stages or processes are. The first is the goal or the objective. This basically is the end product or what you want the student to be able to do once they have learned. Next is selecting the learning experience. This is the activity that will bring the learner to the end product. The selection of content is the subject matter that will allow the student to learn and understand your end objective and be able to carry that out. The organization and integration of experience is what opportunities does the student have to explore and practice. It's the doing part. And finally, the evaluation is the assessment that lets you know if you have reached your desired outcomes. Next, we're going to look at how NEAT's curriculum design corresponds to Wheeler's curriculum model. At NEAT, there is a set objective. This is reflected in NEAT's mission statement and NEAT's goals. NEAT is a public charter school whose mission is to prepare all students for STEM-related skills, knowledge, and attitudes needed to meet the future challenges in the global workforce and their communities. This gives a very specific outcome to what is being taught at NEAT. As well, there is a goal that students will be well prepared for the real world of work, which also gives a directive to how and what students should know. Finally, there are set pathways at NEAT that students follow. Those pathways include aviation, health sciences, and computer sciences. At NEAT, after much research, they have decided to use certain set methods of providing a learning experience to students. These include authentic learning, which means using real tools, real processes, and exploring real workplace applications of skills. NEAT also uses project-based learning, which provides students opportunities to apply skills and knowledge into problem solving, both individually and in groups. And finally, NEAT uses community and real-world experiences. At NEAT, the selection of content is driven by project-based learning activities. There are 2 different methods that this content is selected. First, in overarching or whole grade project-based activities. The teachers come up with a theme and a problem to solve, and then each teacher selects the standards that will support the learning in that project-based activity. This can also happen the same way in smaller project-based learning activities that are geared towards just a single class. The organization and integration of experiences is very directed by NEET's mission statement, which is to have real-world experiences. So a lot of the experiences and integration that students have are based around community, service learning activities, and project-based learning, which teaches students how to work in groups, how to communicate with each other, how to have different roles within a project, just like they do in the real world. Finally, in the evaluation stage at NEET, there's different levels of evaluation. There's always what we call critical feedback at the end of a project-based learning activity. This is when students learn to evaluate each other's performance and provide professional feedback to them. As well, we have standard-based assessments to let the coaches at NEET know what standards need to be spiraled back to or revisited if they were not mastered. We also administer benchmarks to make sure that we're keeping up our rigor and pace with the overarching goals that the state says we must follow. And we also have end of grade and end of course testing. These evaluation processes are used to drive our curriculum and used to drive the activities within the curriculum. Based on the results of these, teachers will evaluate and see what next steps are needed to see if the students have effectively met the objectives. So as you can see, the 5 processes at NEET are based on our mission and goals and pathways, our authentic learning and project-based learning, the standards that are based in those projects, the methods of service learning and project-based activities, and then finally the critical feedback, standard assessments, benchmarking, and state testing. There are several pros and cons for using Wheeler's curriculum model at NEET. The first is that NEET has a very set mission. So the model allows for the innovative processes to be carried out for that mission. So that allows for high level engagement of students in these activities. It also provides the continuous evaluation and feedback to ensure that these non-traditional methods are allowing our students to reach our desired outcomes. The teachers can adjust their instruction at any time, and they can have control over the pacing of their instruction. In addition, the process allows them to start anywhere. They could start with their standards that they need to cover and then decide what objective needs to happen from those standards, or they could look at a process they want to use and then look at the standards and the objectives. So the process, because it's circular, allows them to jump in at any point. Some of the cons of this model is that it requires extensive planning and a lot of prep for the teachers because there's a lot of multiple step decisions within the process. It also takes a lot of time to do data analysis of the effectiveness of their instruction. And that time can sometimes take away from other needed activities. There is also, at NEET, I feel, less specific guidance because we have such a clear mission statement. Sometimes we do not effectively communicate to our teachers how that needs to be carried out. And it requires a lot of innovation. It's not for people who are going to use Teacher Pal or Pay Teacher by Teacher and those type of sites. Some of the pros and cons for our students at NEET is that the curriculum is very highly engaging, and it does offer not only teachers a lot of feedback, it offers students a lot of feedback as well. It's authentic learning. It allows for authentic learning, and that usually helps students stay more engaged and helps them to see how these skills are applied in the future work world. It also helps students see exactly where they need to go because there's a very clear stated outcome. We use at NEET essential questions, and they're always posted that reflect our objectives. Some of the cons are that the instruction doesn't always reach all students. And there's a very high level of expectation that some students become discouraged by. As you can see from NEET's performance data, our methods are producing results that are the same and in some areas slightly above our area schools. This confirms that the process that NEET is using is effective. My recommendations to NEET are that they continue using Wheeler's model. It allows for structured outcomes while supporting various learning experiences. This is particularly helpful to NEET because of our set directive or mission statement. I also recommend its continued use because of the ongoing assessments that it allows so that the teachers can efficiently evaluate their teaching methods. It also allows NEET to grow, change, and develop at any time, which as an innovative school is bound to happen. In order to continue to use this model, I would suggest to NEET that they provide more structured support to their staff to understand and give directive within this model, and to give the coaches more guidance. If you have any questions, I can be contacted at Carolyn Walton at northeastacademy.org. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope that you have learned about Wheeler's model and NEET's use of this